But that's a thing, like building the relationship like Laurel's done. Like you'll be with these boys since they were in 6th grade till wherever you choose to go to college. If it's here, you could be with them up until they graduate, honestly. And I mean, Laurel's a great example of that. Just, I'm sure at 2nd grade they weren't the greatest listeners either. Definitely not through middle school.
Right. When you're working with people, you've got to have an unconditional love of sorts if you're going to be their leader. Awesome. So let's start with Laurel, because whenever I think of mission trips, you shared even a while back diving into one of your big mission trips. And so why don't you kind of kick off? Kind of where have you even been? How many mission trips have you gone on? Kind of big picture, what did those look like?
Yeah, so I've only been on 2 mission trips. The first one I went on was to South Africa, and I went with custom students at Seacoast Church. Just for 2 weeks, and then I actually fell in love with the place and was offered an internship there back in South Africa, the same exact place with the organization from Seacoast.
Right.
So I ended up going there the next summer for 3 months, which was last summer. So I lived there for 3 months and just did mission work and all that fun stuff.
Right. Yeah, and you had told me pretty life-changing experience being in South Africa.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And currently you're a volunteer leader with students.
Yeah.
Middle school, right?
High school.
High school now.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point they were middle school.
Yeah.
With high school, right? And Chandler, you as well. Are you still doing high school students at Seacoast Church, or does it cover all the teenagers?
Yeah, I do middle and high school.
Middle and high school, covering it all.
She's an overachiever.
Right.
Whatever.
Chandler is all over the place. I just gotta say. Actually, both of y'all,
Yeah.
which is why I want to have y'all on the show. Y'all are so passionate about students and about being missional. So Chandler, kind of big picture, where have you been in your sort of global mission experience?
Yeah, globally, so I went to Nicaragua 3 times. So my first trip was in 9th or 10th grade. Then I went again with our college ministry, and then I actually just went this past summer. So I love Nicaragua. It's just literally incredible, and all the people there are amazing, and it's just always a new learning experience for sure. And then I've done a few trips in the States as well.
Okay, great. Save those stories for the second part.
All right.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So we got South Africa, Nicaragua, and Luke on the camera. He was even asking me, when am I going to do mine? So I'm still, based on our conversation today, we'll determine maybe which area of the world I want to go to. I don't know. So that's awesome. Well, let's also maybe sort of define mission trips. Kind of give a little bit more detail into what a mission trip really is, what it entails. Is it all about faith? Is it partially about faith? Could you do a mission trip and you're an atheist? I don't know. Why don't we talk about that and how y'all see mission trips? So let's maybe start out with just define a mission trip in your mind.
Okay. To me, a mission trip is, just something that can grow your faith with God. Obviously, grow your faith with God. But obviously, just make you, you experience so much on a mission trip. You learn so much. You grow so much. Even for me, I have a problem working with people sometimes, certain people. And
certain people.
Yeah. And
testing your faith.
Exactly. So on mission trips, you really learn how to work with those people, and it's actually really cool. But in Matthew 28:15, the Great Commandment. Yeah, okay, 28:15. The Great Commission, not commandment. The Great Commission says, go to all nations, declaring the Lord and all baptizing them, whatever.
Right.
The Great
in the book
Commission.
of Acts.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, Acts, Matthew. It's actually a lot of times in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But anyways, I'm babbling.
Right.
But the Lord tells us to go and teach the good word, His word.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's to me, a mission trip is just expanding your faith and growing and learning.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it.
On the global playing field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, and again, so I represent the perspective of not going on a mission trip. And so, you know, in a way, I live in sort of this bubble, right? Where I go to my church, I go to my job, I live in my community, you know, and I was telling Luke, like yesterday I went to the Clemson Citadel football game. And that's like one of the only trips that I've even gone on lately, you know. I mean, I've done some traveling, of course, but it's easy to think that this is all there is, that, you know, whatever social norms in your community are like the world's social norms. And so, you know, so I want to understand the more global perspective, you know, to where not everyone has heard of Jesus, if that's your goal, if that's the point of the mission. But even there's medical missions, right?
Yeah.
There's missions where you build houses. There's missions where you build wells.
Yeah.
Have y'all gone on any of those type of missions where you're building things, or what were some of the other elements maybe?
Yeah. Personally, I haven't been on any like construction or medical mission trips, but ours is, the ones I've been on are mainly like evangelist type things. So the purpose of it is just to literally make disciples and to tell people about Jesus, and even the people that we're not necessarily speaking about Jesus with, hopefully they'll see it in the way that we love them. Right. So that looks like putting on Bible schools for little kids, going into the schools and teaching elementary kids Bible stories, and putting on youth nights, and really just whatever the church that we partner with asks us to help with in their community. Right,
yeah, whatever they need. Well, that's a good point too, sort of just being all hands on deck, being willing to do whatever they need. You know, a lot of them do need the hope that y'all provide as being the messengers of Christ. But like water for some communities is a serious thing too. Now granted, if you didn't go there to plant a water well, you're probably not going to be able to on the fly plant a water well, but that is a good point too, just whatever the village needs. And I mean, I've been involved with organizations like Engineers Without Borders, for instance. That's a global network, and they have chapters all throughout America, and I assume the world, where engineers go and they do engineering projects. But I've heard of some of the testaments of the great things, but also the challenges too, of just the trust that, you know, it's like, oh, another person from, you know, another light-skinned person coming to our area to think that they can help us or fix us when you know, we haven't established that trust. So was that ever a challenge for y'all with establishing trust, or how do mission groups go about doing that, or was the work already done for y'all's trips?
Yeah, I know, like for Nicaragua, thankfully that's not really, like, it hasn't been a problem that I've come across. We actually get to stay with host families, and like the families just like accept you like their own child, and everyone in the village is just like so excited that you're there. But the problem, which we can touch on that later too, but just with short-term missions, is that like we're only there for such a short time, and then you're gone. And so it is hard to build relationships that are really going to impact them forever. If you're only there for, like you said, a week or two, and then you're gone. And like, I've made lifelong friendships and relationships with the people there, but there is that trust thing that comes in, especially for the people that are outside of the church that we're trying to preach the gospel to. That's where they're like, well, you're only here just like for a day and then you leave, you know?
Sure.
And so that's a challenge for sure, especially when the heart of it is to build relationships. Yeah.
But y'all told me, and I think especially Laurel, maybe you've told me, are you able to keep up with some of the students or people across the country in South Africa? I think you've told me that you kind of keep up with them, and you've even told me like it was like the biggest bummer whenever you had to actually physically leave them.
Yeah.
So, but it's possible to keep up with some of the people that you do.
Yeah. I mean,
contact with?
I know I have friends that have been on short-term mission trips, and they keep up. Like, I know Chandler in Nicaragua, like on Facebook and stuff, has been able to keep up with her host families and the people who like
became friends.
Yeah, volunteer there and are friends with them too. For me, luckily, we have an app called WhatsApp. And it's called WhatsApp.
What?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp?
Like WhatsApp, but WhatsApp.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure. Okay. Yeah. It's like, are you saying what's up? What do you? Okay, so WhatsApp.
WhatsApp.
Tracking.
And so it's almost like a texting thing, but it's for, you can text basically send messages throughout, like,
entire world.
The entire world, yeah. So, like, we have friends in Spain that we talk to through WhatsApp, so it doesn't, like, it's not costing money to text them, like, off of, like,
Okay,
regular
so they have
text or
a username, or do they have a phone number?
It's like
or
a
what?
number.
They have a number.
So you can use, like, any number that they have and add them or whatever. So, like, when I was there, I added a lot of them, and I keep in contact with them on that app or Facebook, either one.
Right.
But so, like, yeah, like, I actually, like, FaceTimed one of them the other day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. How are they doing?
He's awesome.
He's awesome?
Yeah.
Good.
I told him I was coming back in the summer, and he got super excited. So.
Nice. So you're already planning, what, round 3?
Yes.
Is that round 3?
I'm leading the student trip this year with Josh Ray.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you getting some Somerville people there possibly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Which Somerville's another area of Charleston. Well, cool. So maybe let's talk about preparation, because y'all went for 2 weeks or so for a mission trip. Laurel, you went for 3 months later. So that preparation looks different. Did you have to get vaccinations? Do you have to, I guess 3 months was during the summer, but
Yeah.
do you have to make up a lot of schoolwork later if it's during the school year? Like what are some things that stuck out with preparing for this kind of trip?
A lot.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to scare anyone because you can avoid that easily. I mean, you can get things done pretty easily. But yeah, you have to get vaccinations for most mission trips. But it will last for like 10 years normally. Like, I know the 2 vaccinations that I had to get, I think, last either 5 or 10 years. So, which is nice because I don't have to get them every single time I go.
Right.
And then, yeah, you have to, like, fundraise, which is hard if your heart's not in the right place.
Right.
But I feel like if your heart is in the right place, then God will provide, because I have a huge testimony to that. And then, just really, like, preparing your heart for, like, culture shock, because you're going to get there and it's going to be nothing that you ever, like, thought of and imagined. Mm-hmm. And just, yeah, like, support financially and prayer from everyone. That's, like, a big preparation to going on a mission trip.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just echo what you said. Just like the finances can be really scary at first when you're looking at it, because global missions are expensive. But like she said, like, I haven't been on one trip that God like hasn't provided enough or even more than enough for. Yeah. And sometimes that looks like you're waiting till literally the last day to still get like $500 in.
Yeah, I've heard that multiple times.
Or sometimes, there's some person who just like really wants to donate your entire trip to you. Like, so I don't know, it takes a lot of prayer and just trusting God that if he called you on that trip, he's gonna provide for it. Yeah. But also just being proactive and like getting your support letters out, like mailing support letters to everyone like who might donate to your trip, and it's always like the person that you least expect to donate that normally does. So just getting on that and not procrastinating, because your time is limited to raise all that money.
Right. Yeah. Did y'all do snail mail letters? Snail mail for you?
Yeah, I did Facebook and snail mail.
Yeah.
Okay. A Facebook, like one post or individual messages, or what did you do?
So I would do like a post and then like on my page, but then I would create like a Facebook group and I would invite like 100 people into that group.
Gotcha.
But like we didn't have their addresses.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because that's, let's be honest, snail mail, like, it's kind of going out for a lot of uses. Yeah. Amazon might as well just buy out like snail mail. I feel like, unfortunately you can't email a desk.
Yeah.
Or a couch. So yeah, that's a great point. You invited people into a group and you posted a link, I guess. Was there a link? Did the organization provide you a link? What did that look like?
So I know, like, for our church, Seacoast, they provide you with a link. Okay. I know some organizations don't, or some churches don't, from like friends that have gone on trips with different churches. And what they've done is like create a GoFundMe page and just linked their GoFundMe to that. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And speaking from fundraising for my football team, one season we sold donuts or whatever.
Yeah.
For like $5 or $10, which you could do for a mission trip, especially if you just walk up into somebody's business or whatnot usually they're willing to like buy donuts for their office for $10 or whatnot, you know, and if they aren't interested, then that's okay. Just kind of move on.
Yeah,
but you know,
exactly.
you're not everyone may want to buy something, but usually whenever you present a good cause and you're a teenager or you know, a young person, most people are pretty amenable to wanting to support you.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
it's pretty amazing actually.
It is.
Like there's more people on your side than you would think.
Yeah.
You know.
Me and my best friend, the first year we went to South Africa, didn't even like know how to start really fundraising, and we made these like papers about like saying, you know, we'll make cookies, banana bread, like having like a bake sale, and just like gave everyone papers in his neighborhood, just handing out papers, and we were like, and like had, you know, the whole situation on it, going on a mission trip, and like half the time the people just gave us money instead of even like saying like bake us anything. Like I don't even think we baked more than like 2 things.
the bake sale where you didn't bake anything.
Like,
that is all, y'all are professionals.
Yeah. I mean, I've been like encouraging my small group girls that like, if you, I mean, you can get 1 or 2 friends and just do things like that, like bake things or whatever, have a movie night and then have
Car
like concessions.
washes.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways to make money to fundraise for your trip.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of just got to do something. You know what I mean? You know, because I've heard people wanting to do car washes or whatnot for good causes, and some, you know, I can even fall into it, but sometimes you get so wrapped around wanting to plan it and talk about it that you never end up sitting down and just doing it.
Yeah.
And it may not be perfect. You may not raise all the money you need in a single car wash or a single bake sale, but
Exactly.
just do something though. You know,
Yeah.
you'll
a little
get,
bit is still a
Yeah.
lot, you know.
right. You'll get closer to your
That's
goal.
the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I often have to reiterate to myself that you're chasing progress more than anything. You know,
That's
Yeah.
you know, if you're so focused on chasing success, you know, it may be years, depending on what your goal is, before you get success. But chase progress,
Yeah.
because you can make progress on a daily basis.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, you know, I even shared with y'all that, you know, one season of my life, I was training for a half Ironman, and I did a fundraiser for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and so I had to go out and fundraise for that. Similar to mission trip, I had to go somewhere, and I had to have a pretty rough time or whatnot. Half Ironman triathlon, so 70.3 miles. But, you know, I got to go through that experience and I ended up having to pay a little bit, you know, for better or for worse, but it was tax deduction write-off for a good cause. But you know, one thing that I did was I leveraged my parents, because my parents were supportive, and they were plugged into some groups. I'm telling you, if you just talk for a few minutes about what you're trying to do in front of a crowd of 50 people, you can bring in some money, you know, $10 a pop, $20 a pop. Someone might donate $100.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a couple of groups, just talking about how I'm doing a half Iron triathlon. It's very similar to your friend daring you to do something stupid and then getting money for it. And the money went to Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, you know, cancer, primarily for students, for kids.
Yeah.
So I understand the challenge.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
and what you said about like even having to put in a little bit of your own money in it is like also very real to like mission trips. So just because you send out support letters and are doing fundraisers isn't an excuse for if you're not reaching your goal yet that you can't like put in some of your own money into that as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might have to pick up a few extra shifts at work and stuff, but God's going to provide that in whatever way that looks like if he's calling you on it. So
yeah.
And like if you're younger, like I know because middle schoolers are offered mission trips and stuff, and younger high schoolers like 9th and 10th grade, like I know. I mean, you can mow lawns, babysit, and things like that as well, like, and just pick up that extra cash too.
Yeah.
You just sometimes have to be selfish for yourself and not blow it on like stupid things, but like put it towards your mission trip and like what you're being called to do.
Right. Yep. Well, cool. We're gonna begin to wrap up the global mission trip conversation. So what I'm hearing is there's challenges, but there's plenty of ways to do it, and it requires trust. You know, belief that you've been called to go there, and certainly it's not going to be easy. You're going to a foreign country.
Yeah.
Like you're going to a foreign country, you don't know what to expect. You're around new people. You know, it's going to be a new experience. So it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to make you grow. And so as we wrap up, I've never talked to anybody that was like, I wish I hadn't gone on that mission trip. So apparently it's worth it.
Yeah,
I assume.
Totally.
So maybe share why is it worth it to you in hindsight? And why are you even continuing? You know, you're continuing to go on more. So regardless of the challenges, it apparently has been a good experience. So what makes it worth it for y'all?
Man, there's so many things, but for me, it's just the way that it wrecks your world in the best way possible, if that makes sense. So just being there to serve and not to be served, just brings you to a whole new level of humility, and then knowledge of no matter where you do a mission trip at, whether that's globally or locally, like there's always someone in a greater need than you, and it really just opens your eyes to that. And then just like the relationships that you build, like will literally forever change your life. So there's so many like different things. I feel like it could go on forever, but those are probably my top reasons of like why, you know. And obviously like we're called to serve, like she said earlier, like it says that multiple times in scripture, like we're called to make disciples. No matter where you're called to that somewhere. So
That's good.
I mean, yeah, exactly what she said. I agree with everything.
Yeah.
Like, I have nothing to add. I mean, just besides, like it grows you and it makes you come back into your world here and just be like, man, like, I'm so privileged. I have all of this. And how can I help people here too?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And also people there while I'm here. But that's just,
That's great. Awesome. Any other thoughts on global missions before we take our break? Any last encouragement on global missions, maybe even for your students that you currently serve?
I'll tell a funny thing. Okay. My encouragement is when they recommend you to get shots and vaccines. They might be expensive, but get them, because I got hepatitis A this summer in Nicaragua.
Oh my gosh.
For not getting my shot.
Huge point of encouragement. Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Don't get the cheap shots. Don't go with the cheap doctors.
Seriously.
The recommendation is strong.
Honest.
The recommendation is strong in this one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Laurel, anything else you want to add there?
I just think that I just encourage everyone, if you're called to, obviously. I think that everyone has a calling for missions and everyone has a calling to serve the Lord, but you need to really think about that and make sure, like, this is where God's calling me. Like, I may really want to go back to South Africa. Like, what if the Lord wasn't calling me there? You know? And the Lord will 100% bless you if you go where you're called to. So I just want to encourage students and, adults, anyone who's going on a mission trip, to make sure that you're going where you're called to, but
not because it's cool.
Yeah, not because it's cool. But where you do go, just like be there when you're there and not think about, man, my phone's at home, wonder who's on Snapchat. Like,
right.
No, just be
the
there.
The snap streak is dead.
Yeah.
Unless you paid a friend to do it for you, right?
Yes. So.
Like, touchy subject. Sorry.
Students. I'm just kidding. But so just be there. That's my encouragement.
Right. Awesome. Well, cool. We'll take our first break and then we'll be back in a minute. And we're back. So on this clip, we're going to be talking about local missions, right? So whether that's getting involved in your local church, getting involved in local organizations. There's so many organizations that have so many causes. The possibilities really are endless. So maybe let's give an overview on just some things, and it might require bragging on each other a little bit, right? I'll probably brag on y'all, but maybe let's give an overview, just kind of some things that y'all are involved with right now and in the immediate past that y'all are serving with that you might consider sort of a local mission. Yeah. And I'll direct that first at.
Okay,
we'll go with Laurel first.
Chandler will go out with a bang at the end.
Chandler's got to lead the last part.
Okay,
and she's just going to take this episode away.
I know.
on a white horse.
Right.
with the sword in hand.
I currently am just serving with custom students at Seacoast Church. My girls are in 10th grade. And I've actually been leading them since, some of them were in like 2nd grade. So it's been really cool being able to kind of grow up with them and just like watch them grow, but also them watch me grow. And it's really been cool to like be able to be vulnerable with them, because for a long time, especially in like middle school, it was like, okay, what can I share with them that's like too much information, and like they're like, you know, and now it's been like super cool just like getting to kind of be friends with them, but also just lead them well. And even now, like I'm trying to get them to go on mission trips with me. So but so I do that, and then I mean, I really don't compare to Chandler. Chandler has like a bunch of things.
Chandler's at like, I swear, Seacoast has something like 8 campuses. Chandler serves with 10 of them.
Okay, that's not true.
Honestly.
That's not true.
Yeah, well, I'll reiterate to that point, Laurel, that's so huge that you've been involved in their life since 2nd grade. And they're in so that sort of generation of girls, they're in what grade now?
10th grade.
10th grade, yeah. Mm-hmm. So you may recognize this, but just in case you don't know the significance, I mean, you're like the number one influence, I would say, in their life. I mean, who else is an influence in your life for 8 years running?
Yeah.
I mean, even in high school, you might have a teacher for 4 years, but for 8 years running, so that's so huge. And I know they may not. Well, I'm sure they say they appreciate you all the time, but that's a huge influence, you know. And it is interesting too, because you get to be their friend in a sense, but you also have to maintain some kind of leader component too, which is can be a big challenge.
Yeah, it definitely can.
Right.
At like summer camp.
Right.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. And we can even touch on summer camp too as well, because there's a lot there and stories there. But Chandler, let's maybe give an overview on stuff that you're doing, sort of local missions.
Yeah, so I attend the Dream Center campus of Seacoast in North Charleston. So that campus was kind of created for local missions, which is super cool. And so, I mean, there's tons of different stuff going on there all the time, but I personally serve with the middle and high schoolers on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. And then I get to help out whenever I can with like the food pantry, or we have a free medical clinic. So I used to help out with that like last year before I was working full time. And so there's just like so many cool opportunities. There's a clothes closet where people can donate clothes to people who can't afford them. And like serve Saturdays where people just go out into the community.
Oh man, the Dream Center does so much. They do E3 mentoring. So a one-on-one mentor program for middle and high school. I think
it's actually elementary through high.
Oh, elementary through high school. So they do the one-on-one where you get professional. Well, it's not even just professionals. Yeah. Sometimes it's college students. Yeah. Or maybe even high school. I don't know. Do high school students participate?
No, you have to be like graduated high school.
You have to be graduated from, okay. Which probably makes sense. So primarily, college students, professionals, one-on-one mentoring, like you said, food pantry. They do homeless ministry, which I've gone a couple times with our buddy John Overman on Friday nights. Awesome stuff. Did you mention the Cinderella Day?
No, I didn't. So every year there's a big Cinderella Day, which is where a ton of people from all different campuses, and honestly just like even local stores and stuff, donate prom dresses and shoes and jewelry, and all these high school girls get to come pick out dresses for prom that maybe they couldn't have afforded them before. And really like all throughout the day we get to tell like motivational things, or like people share testimonies, and there's just like some Christian worship or like rap in the background playing, and we get to like eat with the girls, and it's really just like a day to make them feel like really beautiful, but to be able to like give back to the community in that way, where they might not get to, feel beautiful or like have a really pretty dress for prom or something like that otherwise. So it's been cool to see like the same girls go back every year, because they just like love the experience even more than they love the dress. Yeah. So.
And then a big thing, so Thanksgiving stuff coming. I don't know if you mentioned Thanksgiving yet.
No.
But I mean, they fry up.
There's so much.
Right. They fry up thousands of turkeys.
Yeah.
I think last year was the first year I went to help deliver turkeys, which was so much fun.
It's so fun.
I was with just some warriors, a couple, probably in their 40s or early 40s. And they were just warriors, and they knew the community already, so it was like a piece of cake. It's like every home we went to was like homecoming. Like everyone was so appreciative, and they didn't know me, but they were still appreciative of me being there. Everyone that we delivered to, and just got to enjoy Thanksgiving meal. which is a huge thing. A lot of hands went into it too. I got to see the backstory of all the volunteers. They have this just line. It's like a factory.
Yes, it is.
You know?
Huge assembly line.
Yeah, huge assembly line.
Yeah, so we get to do that together every year too.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. The goal for this year is 5,000 meals out to families. Wow. So it'll be awesome, but it is a big deal for sure. In the community, people look forward to that and expect that every year because that's what the Dream Center has done for them for the past 8 to 10 years. So,
yeah. And you're like all over. I feel like all of it. You know, it's like you're all over that campus and everything it does. You're all over like Mount Pleasant campus with the students, the high school students at Custom in Mount Pleasant. I've probably seen you in like all the other campuses I've been to. Going over to Somerville, involved with the college and young adults.
I'm just kidding.
You're basically in Asheville too, which is a whole other state away. I don't know how you're doing that.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So we need that heart, you know. We need that commitment. So maybe let's talk about how to even find the cause that you're passionate about. You know, maybe we'd have to go back a few years, kind of to maybe early days of getting involved in some of these things. But you know, I know for me, when I was in college, I started serving a lot in college. Now, granted, in high school, we needed 30 hours a year of community service, and if you got an extra 30, so 120 total, because I guess somehow it was 90 as a baseline, but if you got 120, you got an extra cord. So I got 120 in high school. And I mean, I served in various areas that like I vaguely remember. It's like serving in like after school programs and serving in the high school orientation for ninth graders and all that kind of stuff. But in college, I got involved with a lot of stuff, and it was always fueled by something I was interested in, you know. So a land conservancy was one thing, about sustainability, you know, about preserving natural areas, that kind of stuff. Not that there's conflict. There might be a conflict of interest there because I am into land development. Regardless, you know, I appreciate the natural world and the outdoors, and parks. And, you know, parks are a huge thing that I love. I grew up around parks. And so I got involved with, it was called Mount Pleasant Land Conservancy at the time. I went to some of their events. You know, I got involved with Engineers Without Borders. Got involved in a couple other engineering organizations because that's my profession. But I got involved in E3 as well. And, you know, I love the mentoring aspect. Mm-hmm. And so I know for me, it was based on what I was already interested in. It was based on, too, in hindsight, getting involved in mentoring kind of made sense because I was going back to high school. I was involved in after school programs a little bit, and I maybe didn't know the connection at the time. And even before I did E3, I mentored like some second graders at the Citadel. Yeah. It was called Bulldog Bullpup program.
That's awesome.
And then unfortunately they disbanded the program because some idiot got in trouble at this, you know, old story, got in trouble like 20 years later for assaulting kids. You know, idiot's probably not even a strong enough word, but so anyway, they disbanded this mentor program because this guy had assaulted kids at a summer camp. So anyway, not bitter, but that's how I kind of got started in some local sort of mission type stuff. And then obviously when you get into the faith mission stuff, getting involved in college, it was called the Well, and serving students and sharing your faith and testimony with students, college students rather. So maybe let's talk about how did y'all find those things that y'all are interested in. And I'll start with Chandler because you started to say something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like for me, it was just figuring out, I guess, like what I was super passionate about and like what's the thing that like keeps me up at night? Like what's the thing I get so excited about that I would drop everything for to do all the time if I could, or and like even just like my story, like loving to encourage high schoolers because of like things that I like maybe went through in middle school and high school. And so I don't know, for me it was just kind of like I knew that I just like love students. Like that's where I come alive, is just getting to build relationships with students. So I mean that's why I love to do what I get to do. What about you?
Right.
That's a big question. Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of just like what Chandler said. Well, for me, I've always watched like Chandler. I mean, she's a few years older than me, and I always watched her like get super involved in things. And so that's how I started kind of being like, man, I want to get involved with something. Like I want to serve here. And I remember being in like elementary school, and she was in Groundswell, which is now Custom, but it was the student ministry at our church. And
Right.
she was in it, and I was just like, man, I really want to go. And then finally they moved. It was like 7th grade you could join, right?
Yeah.
And I was in 6th grade, and all I wanted to do was go. But finally, when I like was able to go, I just like grew super fond of it and started going every week. And then that's how, I really just started serving with Kids Coast, which is our children's ministry at Seacoast Church.
Right.
And
K
then,
through 5, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And so kind of just like started, serving with them, doing whatever lessons, and serving on the worship team there. Which,
Serving on the worship team.
bless that.
Oh, for the kids. Gotcha.
Over the kids.
Okay.
Bless that.
She's actually good at singing, though. She's just being modest.
You lying. Anyway, she lying.
No, I'm not.
She hears me in the shower.
Yeah, she sings so loud. Anyways.
It's like the neighbors are complimenting you on your singing.
Literally.
Anyways. But yeah, so I just started serving with Kids Coast, and then just started, like I said, like moving up with my girls and stuff like that. But I'm actually, for me right now, I'm attending Southeastern University, which is based in Lakeland, Florida, but they made an extension site with Seacoast. And so there's
Here in Charleston.
Yeah, here in Charleston. And so there's only like 20 of us in a class right now because it's the very first year of it. But they're giving us hours of practicum each week, and we have to serve in like different parts of the church every week, which has been like super cool because for me, I know like at least in this season of my life, I like am supposed to be with students, middle and high schoolers, but it's really cool seeing people who like haven't really been to Seacoast before when they moved here for school, to watch them like get involved in the church and like learn all the new places, like whether it's like tech or the care team or whatever it is, children's custom, whatever it may be. It's been really cool, like just serving in other parts of the church too for me as well.
Right.
So that's something that I've been involved in since like August now, since school started. But that's been like super awesome for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you go over how you got involved with your students in 2nd grade, and they're now in, what'd you say?
10th grade.
10th grade, so 8 years ago. I don't know what were you, like 12?
Probably.
You know what I mean?
Or, yeah. Yeah,
Something
you were
like that.
12.
Yeah.
How did you get involved then with 2nd graders when you were probably in 6th or 7th grade, like you were just saying?
They just like needed people to help serve. They have like really young people serving.
Right.
And I did actually serve in the nursery, like 2s and 3s first, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to like Central Park, which is 4 and 5, and then kind of like moved up a little bit because I was like, oh, I want to try something new. And then finally, like I might have had some of my girls even earlier than 2nd grade. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But yeah, so I just kind of started serving there and like being like a table leader, I guess, like leading a little table and just like playing games with them and stuff. And then I just started growing up with them and like moving up when they started moving up and stuff.
Gotcha. So in other words, it was partially a need there.
Mm.
Did somebody reach out to you directly and ask if you'd be a leader, or was it just a sort of global, here, we need something type thing?
Yeah, I can't really remember. I think I was
Okay,
just-
this one's kind
I
of 8 years
can't
ago, right?
either.
Yeah, I think I was just like, oh, I want to serve in a new
Yeah.
place. And so I just started serving and got like connected with certain girls, and then kind of just started moving up with them when they moved up and things like that.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's a huge testament that, because there's going to be students obviously listening, and maybe they want to get involved in this sort of thing called mentoring, or I don't even know another word to describe it other than mentoring, but leading, and maybe they don't necessarily recognize that there's other students below them that they could be pouring into, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Would there be any insight or anything there that you want to give as encouragement to, let's say, 16-year-olds?
Like if they wanted to serve?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would just go talk to your youth pastor or whoever that's like you see a lot at church and just be like, is there any way that I can start serving? And then they can help you get connected really easily. But I feel like they always need
There's
people
always
to
a
serve.
need.
There's
Yeah.
always a need.
That's true. There's always a need.
Yeah.
It's like
There is.
you never say, we have too many leaders, we need to scale back.
Exactly.
You know, there's always a need for leaders willing to serve.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, even like you, I'm gonna like kind of brag on you for a second. Like you do parking at the church.
The baton team.
Yeah, the
Yes.
baton team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Baton team. Correct. Okay.
Yes, that. And so like even for like 16-year-old boys, they might not want to lead like young boys yet. It's like
5-year-olds.
yeah, exactly. They might not want to do that because honestly, I get it.
Luke here, who serves with sixth graders, best describes this group as interesting.
That's a good word.
Yes.
for 6th grade boys.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, for the times I listen.
So people who don't have a heart like Luke, I'm just kidding.
They listen 40% of the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Never.
Less than 40%.
It's okay, persevere.
Yeah.
Yes, perseverance, Luke. It's gonna be great.
I'd say more like 10%. If that.
I get it.
Sowing seeds, Luke. Sowing seeds.
Yeah.
You know what? It's the truth.
But that's a thing, like building the relationship like Laurel's done. Like you'll be with these boys since they were in 6th grade till wherever you choose to go to college. If it's here, you could be with them up until they graduate, honestly. And I mean, Laurel's a great example of that. Just, I'm sure at 2nd grade they weren't the greatest listeners either. Definitely not through middle school.
Right. When you're working
And
with people,
so-
you've got to have an unconditional love
Yeah.
of sorts if you're going to be their leader. We could go on and on about that. No matter how, because I serve with young adults. It's not like every time we get together as young adults, we all act like awesome adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, we've been together for 2 years. There's been some heated fellowship at times. There's been people who don't want to forgive others in the group for something that, you know, might be petty, might not be. But, you know, there's conflict when you're working with people, and you've got to have some kind of unconditional commitment, I think, whether they're in 2nd grade, 6th grade, or they're
24.
24, you know. But yeah, certainly perseverance and just believing that there is greatness within those that you're leading, and there's potential in those that you're leading. And as a leader, you've got to figure out how to tap into that potential, because everyone's going to be different. It's a challenge for
Yeah.
sure. And you won't necessarily resonate with everyone equally as well.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true.
it's not like everyone's going to become your 2.0.
Right.
Right.
You know, somebody in your group might. You know, Luke can even attest. Whenever I first met, you know, Luke was doing the camera today. I think it was summer camp a couple years ago, and I think within a few days of us meeting some of the others for the first time, we were out doing a couple hundred push-ups for some punishment.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
but even to this day, we're
185.
what's that?
185.
185? Yeah, something like that. Whatever. It's not hazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle's that leader.
Well, it was a good time.
For you.
But point being, you know, not everyone's perfect whenever you're working with people, whether you're just getting started or whether it's down the line and it's more of a mature relationship. And sometimes, yeah, there's heated things that happen, and sometimes you have to invoke some kind of punishment or whatever. But you still, as long as you're doing it out of some kind of love or out of some kind of lesson or out of some kind of teaching or whatever, then it'll result in growth, and you'll still, you know, maintain a positive relationship.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
awesome. Anything else on local community missions that y'all want to add before we take our next break?
I mean, I just want to encourage any student that's like, oh, I don't know if I'm being called to like a global mission trip right now, but like there's so much you can do, whether it's at the Dream Center or whether it's, you know, just like you said, like feeding the homeless downtown or wherever. I mean, there's so many places in Charleston or near Charleston that need help. And like, I mean, half the time you don't even know it, but people at your school are needing like financial stability or whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But I just want to encourage students that like it's not just about going to Africa or Nicaragua or Haiti or wherever you're going. Like it's not just about going on that. Whether it's it's amazing, it's awesome, it's life changing, but so can your backyard be?
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, echo everything she said because it's so important. And like the cool thing with local missions too is the relationships, because you do get to see these people over and over again. And our backyard is honestly our biggest mission field, especially for students. School, so hard, but biggest mission field.
Yeah.
But just building those relationships with people over time, because you're able to, because you see them all the time. And that's where true life change happens, honestly, is in the relationships,
Yeah.
really. So, yeah.
It's good. All right, we'll take our next and last break, and we'll be back in a minute. Can you say it in Spanish?
Drei, zwei, eins.
That's German.
That's German. You can't shortchange
Tres,
us.
dos, uno.
I was trying to think of it backwards. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
And we're back for the last part. We're going to be talking about sort of the personal mission. So maybe even not so much the what you do, whether you or the where you go, but a little bit more of the why. And we'll talk about the what too, but a little bit more of the why. And one word that always comes to my mind that's so important is passion. Just being passionate. And one thing that I've told students that I lead that I heard or read somewhere that has just stuck with me, and I think I did it at some point, whether I meant to or not, was one way to find what you're passionate about is to open up a newspaper and skim through it and figure out what really fires you up. Mm-hmm. One way to say it is what really pisses you off in the newspaper, right? Because that'll help you figure out what really touches your heart, what problem in the world just really gets to you. Like Chandler, you mentioned what keeps you up at night. For us, students is a big thing. Students, whether they're at-risk students for financial reasons or health reasons. Health is a big thing in my life, and Chandler, I know health is something in your life too, that affects you and you're passionate about. But I was even in college, and one thing that I'll get back into a little bit is politics at some point. I served in political stuff a little bit in college, but I don't feel great about serving in politics right now. But one thing I did in college was I opened up a newspaper and I read about how our state was going in debt because of our unemployment fund. Now, I'm not going to open up the politics necessarily on that, but the idea of paying people money that we don't have for them not working just kind of upset me. But I remember I read that in college. I was 18 years old, 19 years old. And I get the challenges, but just something inside of me opening up that newspaper just really, really fired me up. And certainly there's challenges. Education is a huge challenge. We're part-time educators in a sense, pouring into students, and whether that's skills or values or morals or whatever, we're all trying to do our part. But that's one way to figure out what you're passionate about, And certainly terminology is also important, my adult small group, they can be very opinionated and outspoken, which I love most of the time. But one thing I told them was, if you're disagreeing with something I'm saying, that's okay. I don't necessarily love that you're disagreeing with me, but I would love to hear your passion, because we want passionate people involved in the church. And so that's something that sticks in my mind is sort of a big picture of why, why do you serve? Do y'all have any other thoughts on either passion or other big picture sort of ideas that really drive you to want to serve in the areas that you serve in?
I mean, for me, I just feel like I grew up being served so well, and that it was I want to give back and do that and be half the leader that even my sister, Chandler was, or my mom and dad, they're such great servants. And I mean, Josh Ray, for example, he's the youth pastor at the Somerville Seacoast campus, and he has just immensely grown me, and helped grow my faith grow since I was in middle school. And him and a lot of the youth pastors at Seacoast just have been such a big part of my testimony. And so that's why my passion is so big, I feel because I want to be half the leader as them and just do what they're doing and be able to lead these students just as well as them. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in order to give back out of gratitude.
Yeah.
So I guess gratitude maybe would be a word as a fuel source.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when you say you were served so well, you mentioned family. I mean, was it teachers as well? Was it your church, or is family kind of that number one thing that sticks out?
I mean, definitely Chandler. She's always been such a
Chandler.
No, really. She's been such a great example. I mean,
yeah.
This sounds so bad, but I feel if she wasn't my sister, my older sister, I probably wouldn't be a leader. Honestly, like I probably
Sure.
wouldn't be as involved as I am in church just because like she was so passionate about it that I was like, I want to be that passionate and I want to be like that
Right.
involved. And then my parents, I mean, they obviously just have served us well as we're growing up and stuff. I mean, there's 6 of us kids wise.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say, I was surprised alone from learning that y'all were sisters, because I've known y'all for years now. And then I go to Moe's one day, and I think it was Chandler. You were there
I think so.
with one of your younger sisters.
Yeah.
I didn't even know y'all were sisters. I was like, what is going on? How many Moores are there? It's like, no wonder that's your last name.
more.
more.
So there's 6 of y'all, right?
Yeah.
All girls.
One boy.
One boy. Okay.
5 girls.
He's the oldest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like our parents always were serving in the church since we were little,
Yeah.
and really taught us at a young age like what it meant to serve, I think. So we're definitely blessed for that.
Yeah, that's huge. Because again, that's a testament that there's always someone under you looking up to you. That goes for parents. If there's parents listening, that goes if you're in high school, you have a younger sibling. Because I didn't have siblings, so that's part of why I'm so passionate about students.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have that sibling. And so I know that everyone does need someone, either someone pouring into them, or you need to be, pouring into somebody else. And you need, I think siblings are one of the biggest blessings. Now I understand in families, then siblings go bad. That could probably be a TV show. Siblings gone bad. I mean, there's siblings.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's and y'all. I know y'all butt heads is at times. I'm sure, right, over the years. I'm sure. Y'all obviously seem to have a great relationship now, and there's definitely students out there that have siblings that maybe they just can't forgive them for something. I don't know, and again, maybe it's petty, maybe it's not. Y'all seem to have such a great relationship in your family across the board. Do y'all have any thoughts on those students out there that have siblings that maybe they want to have a better relationship with their brother or sister, or just how do you work through that? How do you heal that?
I mean, I always encourage students that, struggle with that or have, a lot of problems with their siblings. Just, keep loving them the best that you can. Because I think, it really wasn't until we got older that we got, so close.
Yeah.
And honestly, that goes for all my siblings, too. Like, me and my older sister, and I would say the same for you and our brother. I don't think those relationships really start to become so close until we were older.
Yeah.
And we were able to look back and appreciate it a lot more.
Right. Did y'all have the typical fights,
yeah.
fighting over the bathroom? How many bathrooms did y'all have?
We still fight over that.
Something never.
Let me not go there.
I really don't.
Laurel, stop singing in the bathroom.
Chandler, get off the toilet. more the case.
The hairdryer doesn't work anymore.
That's Caitlin. Yeah.
Right.
So.
I mean,
it's
some
4 girls
happen.
sharing a bathroom. That's all
Wow.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's a testament there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. I just tell them to love them as well as they can and persevere, because
Yeah.
I think once they get older, they'll be able to appreciate that more, and
Yeah.
for things that maybe are never like that relationship's never good, even when they get older, just forgiveness, like you touched on earlier, just being able to forgive them and love them where they're at, because some families really do go through a lot of crazy stuff that I can never even fathom. But I know a lot of my students have some really crazy family testimonies, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it just breaks my heart. And so I feel like I've never been through that, so I can't speak to it personally, but just being able to, tell them to just trust that God has a plan through it all, and
Yeah.
to be the example to their family that maybe their parents weren't or their older siblings weren't. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're gonna be with your siblings
Forever.
more or less forever.
Yeah.
And that's a perspective that's tough to have when you're young, and you just they did something to your toothbrush or whatever, it's like, or they hid one of your appliances or whatever. Maybe I'm touching close to home. I don't know.
Broke your glasses.
Or they broke your glasses.
Found my glasses one time and broke them.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't mean to. It was accident.
I'm so glad. And see, this is a testament. Y'all have healed
I
past
wasn't
that.
mad at her. I was
That
like,
was like last year.
And you got another pair of glasses. Everything is okay.
a month later.
A month, you drove around blind for a month, but it's okay. You made it through.
Some sticky glue.
Some sticky glue. What are those? The same pair?
No,
Oh,
these are new ones.
Oh, okay. Good.
But I have to wear the same pair for like a month.
Oh.
I literally
You just gotta
kept
get that tape.
re-gluing it.
Yeah.
No.
Tape down the middle, just like in the movies.
Too bad it was right here. We couldn't even fix them. It was awful.
Oh, man.
It's okay though.
I didn't know. She had them sitting in a place they shouldn't have been sitting.
On my bed, where it's my bed.
But I've always come talk to you on your bed.
Yeah, she was just trying to come talk to you, Laurel.
I was playing one of those games that you put that thing on your face,
The 3D game thing?
Yes. And so I didn't see her come in my room.
Those things,
Alright, what
they
is
barely
that?
even work. Anyway.
I know.
That's what angers me most about this story. Those 3D things barely even work. Not even entertaining.
Seriously. So not worth
It
the
was the
broken
first time
glasses.
I saw it though, so
You're testing it.
yes. Anyways.
It's kind of ironic you were doing this 3D game thing and then your
I know.
glasses in the...
I got she goes, oh no. And I was
no.
like, oh no.
Oh, no. And then you can laugh about it later,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
It's funny
in
now.
and I mean, that's glasses. I mean, there's probably many stories y'all have been through. Many stories others listening have been through.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it angers you in the moment for sure. But afterwards, it's kind of funny because most of it's petty.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
gosh.
majority
it
of
pretty
things
much
out
all
there.
is.
And certainly, but yeah, I'll definitely reiterate what y'all are saying. Keep close to your siblings and be that example, especially if you're the older one. If you're the younger one, you can still be that example.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll, and if you're the younger sibling and maybe you're better at something than your older sibling, you can have some competitiveness. As a guy, we're always competitive, and y'all probably have some competitive nature in some things as well. But, don't drive it too far to where, you really drive your older sibling down because they may not have the same strengths. I've definitely seen that in my life with the younger sibling, getting way better grades or just having other blessings in their life that the older sibling may not be getting. So, but that's huge. And yeah, certainly everyone has a family story, whether it's an entertaining story or not, there's a story there. And so that definitely hits on that personal mission because you have your family now. And then eventually I think everyone is in some degree called to raise up their family, to sort of leave their legacy. That's just part of life, I think. And, some people may be called to adopt or whatever, some people may be called to lead their family and their families to the church. That's kind of me because I don't have siblings. So, my small group and that kind of thing, adult small group, they're kind of like my brothers and sisters to some degree.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out your family thing. But that's huge. That's a huge part of life. So any other points then on big picture ideas that drive your personal mission? I can't remember where. Who even shared that point?
I think
Oh, you're talking about how our parents taught us to serve, but
That's right.
Yeah,
I
gratitude.
don't know how we got there.
Chandler, I think Chandler, this is where you take the episode home on a white horse.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah, I mean, really just getting to, like Kyle said, the why and what breaks your heart. And that's probably the area where you're called to serve. And even sometimes when you're passionate about things, it can grow, old or, stale. But just constantly, being reminded, this is why I do it. Sometimes, honestly, there's nights I don't really feel like doing custom. Even though I love the students, I would take a bullet for every student there. But there's some nights where I'm I don't know. And then I have to remember, the why. I go every Wednesday night because these students have had a higher graduation rate since, the Dream Center's been put in place. And I go every Wednesday night because now
the fruit.
because now these
fruit can
students have
still
hope.
drive you, keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the E3, especially the E3 graduation rate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The main high school in the area of this campus, the graduation rate, I don't know. Do you know the stat? I think it's around 50.
Yeah, it's even more than that, I think.
The baseline graduation rate for the high school.
Yeah, well, it was at like, I don't know. I don't want to say it wrong, but I think now we're at like 70% graduation rate. But like for every student that was an E3 student, there's now a 90% graduation rate.
Right.
For anyone who has been mentored. So that's super awesome. And like the crime rate has gone down exponentially since the Dream Center has been put in place. We used to be top 10 in the United States of dangerous areas, and now we're not even like
this area of Charleston.
Yeah, and now that's not even on that list anymore. So just remembering like things like that when I feel that passion's starting to like fade a little, or just getting tired, honestly, just tired when you serve that much, or if that's your job when you work that much, but just remembering over and over again like the why. So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, then we'll start to close it out. Maybe final thoughts then on missions, on encouragement you would give to students to be bold in pursuing their mission and making impact. What would be some final thoughts of you ladies?
I know this is like really cheesy, and it's like the custom verse or whatever.
Yeah.
But seriously, like the verse that says, "Don't let anyone think less of you because you're young." I mean, it keeps going, and I'll keep going with that. But I'm just saying, like, just that very beginning of the verse is just like, I struggled with that for a long time, thinking like, man, I can't do this because I'm still in high school and like I'm young and whatever. And it's crazy even now, like looking back, just being graduated like 2 years ago or whatever, and being like, man, I could have done that, or like, wow, I did that being in high school. Like, I don't know, I just want to encourage you, like, as a student, to not think you're too young to do something, like whether it's going on a mission trip or it's serve, like we were talking about earlier, serve with a younger generation or whatever it may be. I just want to encourage that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. Don't necessarily be intimidated because you're young.
Yeah.
Step out, and especially if you're doing something for a good cause. No one's gonna be like, stop trying to do that nice thing for somebody because you're a teenager or whatnot. And dream big.
Yeah.
Try to start doing big things, and whatever seems really, really big now, in 10 years will probably seem really small because you've exponentially increased your level of thinking, your level of doing, your level of serving, and all the above.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with what she said. I think like a lot of times I learn from my students, even though they're, anywhere from 5 to 10 years younger than me. I learn from them all the time. So, and I learn like from Laurel literally all the time. So just by watching her, the way that she loves on those students and is consistent with them. So that verse is so true. Just continuing to be that example, no matter who you think is watching or how you think you're impacting people, because you are sowing those seeds from such an early age. But yeah, I mean, really just like you said, dream big and keep chasing those dreams, no matter how impossible they seem, because God has always got something so great. Like when he instills a dream in your heart, he's gonna bring it to fruition, no matter how long that takes, as long as you're consistent in pursuing that dream. So just getting passionate about it, and then getting people in your team who will help you with that dream.
Right. That's so good. Y'all are like serving beasts. Is that a compliment?
Thank you.
It's meant to be a compliment.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, that's about all the time we have. As we wrap up, any shout outs, plugs? I can't even remember. I think
Shout out to Justin Bieber.
So yeah, we had recorded this once upon a time, and then we had a technical difficulty, and I remember you ended shouting out to Justin Bieber. So here again, here he is.
There we are.
He lives.
Yeah.
He lives in our shout outs, which is that he's actually the second time being shouted out on this podcast. Just keeps going.
Keeps going.
Cool. Any other shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to our parents and who have taught us to serve so well, and to
Yeah.
like Pastor, to me, like Set the Dream Center and
Yeah.
Natasha, the people who really like have invested in me and taught me a lot of what it means to serve locally and to also be passionate globally.
Yeah.
That's good. And do y'all want to be found anywhere on the interweb?
What do you mean?
Do y'all have like a social feed thing?
No. I don't
Like at something?
Like
I don't know. I don't speak this lingo.
Well, I don't blog or anything, so I don't know.
He means like Instagram.
Oh yeah, I keep my account private.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot find
I don't
Chandler
remember
Moore
my
and
Instagram.
Laurel Moore.
I don't
You will
remember
never
my
You can
find
follow
them.
Instagram.
custom.
Laurel.moore. Just kidding. Add me. I'm just kidding.
So many followers.
I'm
will
on
follow.
private too, so
Yeah, sorry.
I'll add you
guys.
though. I'm just kidding.
Much love. Just follow Generation Giants.
Yeah.
At Generation Giants Podcast. Awesome. Anything else before we close out?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, it's been
thanks,
awesome
Kyle.
having you on the show,
Yeah, thank
and looking forward to serving with y'all ahead in the future.
you. Yeah.
We were meant to live for so much